This is a conversation with Viveca Chow. She's an actor and performer, popularly known for her roles in The Country Club, Dear Edward, and as a cast member of the Broadway production, Miss Saigon. She's also a content creator who shares some of the best recommendations about places to visit in New York City. In this conversation, we discuss her journey getting into theater, how she prepares for a role, the role of a swing in a production. We also talk about the scarcity mindset, New York versus Hong Kong, and you play a fun little rapid fire game segment. This is No Time. If you like what you see, then do hit subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, or rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. This project continues to be a labor of love, so if you'd like to see it continue, do consider making a donation on Instagram, Anchor, Patreon, pick your poison. If not through monetary support, then do consider sharing these episodes. All your likes and comments, they really go a long way. For other forms of love and support, you can follow this channel on Instagram or Twitter, or follow me personally. And now, it's No Time. The musical, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, it begins with the words, "We all dream a lot. Some are lucky, some are not. But if you think it, want it, dream it, then it's real. You are what you feel. But all that I say can be told another way in the story of a boy whose dream came true. And it could be you." This interview is structured like one of those wonderful actor websites that you make. So first, we're going to click into the About section and get to know you a bit. From your first performance on stage at the age of 9 at that summer school in Hong Kong, where you performed at Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, all the way to becoming a cast member of Miss Saigon, to now working as an actor in New York City. Can you now look back at 9-year-old Viveca, and can you safely say that, like the story of that boy, even your dream came true?
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to dream big and not let anyone tell you that you can't. Because if you're the one who says no to yourself, why should anyone else say yes to you, right? So I'm so happy that I kind of clung on to that dream and didn't let any of the noise, the opinions affect, my thoughts about myself and my belief about myself. And yeah, it was since I was 9 that I wanted to be on Broadway, and I worked hard for it. I did it, and I'll be excited to do it again in the future.
Did you actually make that same birthday wish every single time you blew the candles on your cake that I want to be on Broadway?
I really did.
Damn.
It was, and when I was 9 and I was in the musical, right? It was this very specific moment in theater. We go into technical rehearsals, we call it tech. And that's when all the lights, all the staging, all the sound, actors are in mic, everything comes together. I remember, well, I was part of like the children's ensemble. I was 9, right? So I did like a cartwheel across the stage. And I just remember I kind of moved around, danced my body, sang a little bit. And suddenly there were these lights, these spotlights that just grazed my skin. And immediately I just felt like electricity flowing through my veins, right? And I just knew that moment, it was like my body telling me, this is what you're meant to do for the rest of your life. And it's never been more clear. Yeah.
Can we explore that? What is that feeling like? Like I heard you mention this in a previous interview as well. Such a fascinating idea. It's like love at first sight, but with finding your calling in life, and like your body knows immediately, this is what I want to do. What was it like? Can you describe the feeling further? And if you now look back, what was it about theater that really attracted you to it in the first place?
I love storytelling, and I love playing pretend. And I love the fact that theater and arts in general, and just being a creative, you can impact so many people's lives in such a positive way, right? So everything I do, I just want someone to like laugh a little harder. Maybe they are watching a show and it makes them think a little bit. It challenges them, makes them angry, makes them sad, and kind of immersing themselves in the experience of the human emotion. So that's what I love to do. I love to inspire through creativity. And with the feeling when I was 9, that moment when suddenly your heart just drops, but in a really good way. And it was almost like, I don't know, I don't want to get into like the spirituality of it, but
get into it. Go for it.
But it's kind of almost like you're exactly where you want to be. And it's just not a feeling that I can like, oh, this is kind of how it feels. It's like, it because it's in your body. And that moment, it's kind of like where the mind and body intersect. And my heart dropped, goosebumps all over. I felt like, as I said, electricity, warmth. Everything felt so right. I felt inspired. the drive was there, and it was kind of like my eyes turned into heart emojis, and it was like, let me do this for the rest of my life. I felt like a cartoon, right? But yeah, because every time leading after that, every time I went to see a show, I was in Hong Kong, so a lot of tours came through. Sound of Music, Phantom of the Opera, all of those. Every time I saw it, I would have tears in my eyes, and I would just be like, I wanna do that. You know, it's bringing me so much joy, and I want to be able to bring the same feeling to someone in the audience in return, to feel safe, to feel like they belong, to feel like they're part of the story that brings up all these emotions within them, you know, whether it's positive or negative. Like, this is life, you know, we're human beings, and it's definitely something cool to be said about that.
I love that idea, and you can get as spiritual as you like about it, but it's like just the idea of like your body knows, you know, your soul knows deep inside what's the right calling for you. And when you actually find it, there'll be no doubt about it, right? Almost like the way people talk about when they meet their soulmates of sorts, like there's this instant connection and you just know immediately. It's very, very fascinating, and definitely something people can take into account. You mentioned something interesting just before that, where you spoke about you really like storytelling. Are you able to pinpoint where that started? Like, how did you first dive into stories? What was it about when you were growing up? Was it maybe movies, books, or something that really got you hooked into the power of storytelling?
Yeah, so I think it actually started when I was in kindergarten, and it was drawing. And this is actually a really funny story because I grew up in Hong Kong, and I actually started out in a local school. So that's more like traditional based. We're learning Chinese as a first language, Cantonese to be specific, and English was not really part of the thing. And I just remember, because I'm an only child, I would get bored so easily. So I would come up with all these scenarios in my head, and I would sit my parents down, like, sit down today. I'm going to serve you at this restaurant. And I literally drew out all these menus. I would hand it to them. I'd be like, order. Obviously, I would not make anything, but the
long form improv from kindergarten.
Exactly. Yeah. But the way I was able to create a story from start, middle, and then finish, and then like just feel so happy about that, literally gave me so much life, right? So I was in kindergarten and I was drawing. And I think it's the creativity that is able to be shown through storytelling that kind of captures me. So in kindergarten, when I started doing this assignment, the teacher told us to draw a tree, a flower, and the sun. And I did that. And because I finished early, obviously,
of course,
I was like, oh my gosh, it would be so cute if I added some clouds, put a smiley face on the sun. Yeah. You know, that was telling my story of that I'm this really happy kid, and I just love adding to, you know, sprinkling little doses of Viveca, right?
Yeah.
I got in trouble.
Ooh.
I got in trouble. They were like, that was not the rule. The guidelines were to draw this. Yeah. Why did you add the clouds and the sun? I literally got sent out of the classroom. I got in so much trouble. My parents were furious. They were like, what is wrong with the way she's thinking? She's thinking outside the box, right? Yeah. And then they transferred me to an international school. I was really lucky to get into an international school, and I didn't know a lick of English. My English was really broken. Mm-hmm. And I remember the interview to get into the school was to tell a story.
Ooh.
And it was about a cat and a fish, I think. And then I don't really remember what happened. I was very young, like 7 maybe. And because I told the story so well, I got into the school. So I think it's just the way that you're able to express yourself through storytelling and kind of be a part of these really important moments of people's lives that just really inspire me.
Yeah. Wow. Well, 2 lessons I got out of them. 1, be an only child if you want to be a good storyteller.
No.
That ship has sailed for me, unfortunately. And the second, wow, you went through a really tough interview process for getting into a school. For me, it was just, what's your name? That's it. Yeah, if you can just say your name and your address and stuff, you're in. That's it. But you had to tell like a whole story.
A whole story.
Yeah. Some of us have actually worked hard to get into women's school. Not me, clearly. Okay, let's talk about that feeling that you were talking about on stage. I took these small digressions. Let's click out of the about section. Let's click into the actor section of your website. When you were talking about that feeling that you got on stage, you got those goosebumps. Often when you spoken about Miss Saigon in previous interviews, you mentioned that being on stage was such a rush, such a thrill, that sometimes it almost feels like it almost didn't happen, right? Broadway is such a tough industry. Often you have to perform the same role night after night, maybe twice in the same day. It can get quite repetitive, physically, mentally exhausting as well, can get tedious at times. Is it a challenge for Broadway actors to maintain that spark, maintain that joy, maintain that thrill? Are you in the danger of losing that joy because of the nature of the industry?
Oh, really interesting question. Yes and no, I would say. And I feel like this is not just for Broadway actors, it's actors in general, because I see performing arts and being an actor as a marathon, right? It's such a hard industry. It's a brutal industry. You know, you get like, I got Miss Saigon, and then like for years after, like, and until today, I didn't get any other Broadway show. And I've been in for so many Broadway shows.
Yeah.
So with the performing 8 times a week, which is such a rigorous schedule, because of the nature of me being a swing, I actually thought it was really exciting that I could play so many different characters, and I actually was not bored at all. But
yeah,
it does happen where it kind of starts to feel a little bit like monotonous almost. You know, I wouldn't say boredom. I would just say monotonous, where it's a routine. You do the same thing. And I think it's definitely up to the performer and actor to stay inspired, to stay to have the clarity of, you know, what is this story serving this world, right? Why are we telling the story now? Why is a story important? And, you know, every performance is different because it's live theater. So yeah, I would say that it's definitely more up to like the actor to kind of like stay inspired.
Is that very, like, did that always weigh on your mind that every performance is different? Because of course it's live theater, so you might be in a different mood or in a different zone that day, and that might give a slight different nuance to that character. The audience is different, so that might change things. Broadway, maybe you're most of the time at the same theater, but if you're touring, then it's probably a different theater as well. The layout of that can influence your performance, the way you project as well. Does that weigh on your mind that every show that I'm doing today is a unique show, and if I come back tomorrow, it might not be the same show at all?
So I think at the root of it all, it's going to be the same show structurally. And I think all of us, you know, we're professionals. There's a standard to be held, right? Just like little moments where, let's say the audience, like you brought up the audience's energy. Sometimes you get an amazing audience and sometimes you get a audience.
I don't want hate mail.
So when it's an amazing audience and they're feeding off of you, like sometimes like you take more time, you kind of sprinkle in a little bit of like, just like a little bit oomph, you know?
Give them a bit more.
Yeah. And sometimes when, you know, they're not having it, it's kind of just like, okay, let's just do what we're supposed to do and tell the story, and then like let them take it in. Because sometimes when they're a quiet audience, it doesn't mean they're a bad audience. It's just like sometimes some audiences like to be more responsive and engage and some don't.
Yeah.
So you never know, right? But sometimes you can always definitely feel it, where if someone's like, you see someone's on their phone, they're not as interested. And I remember when I was in Miss Saigon and people were always on their phones, and I would just like stare. I would just like stare in that direction, and I was like dancing, and I was like, get off your phone.
Sending that message.
Yeah, but anything that happens around us, it affects it. And also, as an actor, because for me personally, it's hard to separate actor and self sometimes, right? And if you're sad that day, you're probably going to bring that sadness to an extent into your character work that day. Like, just because like you're existing in your body, you know, like when I'm playing, I don't know, like Mimi, for example, in Miss Saigon, like I wouldn't just be like, I am Mimi now. No, but I'm like Mimi, but like I'm still Viveca. So it's like knowing that it is okay to give yourself grace, that, you know, sometimes maybe you might slip out. The audience won't know, but maybe you might have slipped out in that very specific second, but it's only human and you being yourself. Like you're just honoring what you needed in that moment where maybe you checked out that moment. I'm sure the best actors in the industry do it. But it's being able to like understand, oh, why did I check out? Okay, yeah, it's because I had a really hard day today. And, you know, let's just get back into it. And a lot of actors are able to do that as well. And they're just able to like go in and out.
Every time you give me an answer, I have so many follow-up questions. We're going to be here for 24 hours. But I'm going to ask you this one. You mentioned when you're on stage, it's composite of who you really are and the character that you're playing. There are two schools of thoughts about how to get good at acting. Some people really focus on acting schools and acting techniques. And then there's a school of thought that just says, get out there in the world, experience the world it is, and grow as a person as who you are. And that will give you the depth that you need in the performances that you show on stage. Is there a side that you particularly lean towards?
I think it's everything.
Mhm.
Like I couldn't just pick two. I think at the core, it's imagination. It's playing pretend, So I think to have an open mind, to do your research, to talk to people, like those are the experiences, right? Because I can't experience every single thing that all my characters have ever been through. That's just not possible, and sometimes like it gets very traumatic. So I don't think I want to experience those experiences, So it's really about the imagination. And for me, it's really more about delving into the truth of what the character wants in every given moment. So instead of being like, oh, the character is like really sad in this moment, like maybe someone just passed away. What do you want in that moment? It's like, oh, I want to connect with my grandma who passed.
Yeah.
It's not just me feeling sad because, I mean, you can feel sad, of course, but it's like, what do you want in every moment and why can't you get it? So that's kind of like the very foundational of acting, I think. And like everyone has a different like toolkit to get into character, to get out of character, to explore the many facets and nuances of what a character is. But for me, it's like honoring the character's truth and why is this moment important to them? What do they want out of it? And kind of empathetically relating to that character, because I'm huge on empathy. And I think that's why actors are so powerful, in my opinion, is because we're all able to step into someone else's shoes.
Mhm.
And I think that's the brilliance of it all, is that we're such empaths. Yeah. So like if I see something sad happen to someone else, like I will cry. Like that's just me. And same can be said for acting, is you're putting yourself into their shoes.
Yeah, very powerful tool to try and find the character's truth. Let's try to get another tool out of you, which is, let's imagine the show is just about to start. You can hear the audience. It's T minus 10 seconds before the show starts. Did you have any exercises, routines that you used to use to just set you in the zone, hype you up just before you get on stage?
Yeah. So because I was a swing, for context, a swing is when you understudy all the roles in the ensemble. And I specialized in the female roles, but sometimes I would even go on for the male tracks.
Mhm.
Because let's say someone was sick, someone called out, someone had, a vacation or a personal business. Only the swings can take on filling in the shoes. So no other ensemble member that's on stage every night can do the responsibilities of anyone who wasn't on stage. So that was the swing team. And there were 2, 3, 4, like 5 or 6 of us, I think. So we kind of all worked together in tandem. And I remember there were a lot of cast members that was out one performance, maybe like, I want to say 4 or 5 girls, and there were only 2 of us. So in one scene, we literally had to be like, okay, for this part of the song, I'm going to be actor A.
Yeah.
And then once this part, I'm going to change and do actor B and light the candle, because that's what actor B does and that's important. And then so on and so forth. So because I was a swing and I had all this responsibility, keeping my mental health was kind of more priorities. So anytime that I had to go on stage before that, like honestly, it would be a lot of rest and going through my notes. So that was my ritual in terms of being a swing, because I had to know that I knew what I was doing, because I didn't want to not relive, but I didn't want to live, those nightmares when you dream about going on stage and forgetting your lines and you just don't know what you're doing. I didn't want to do that. So, it was a lot of it was stretching, like very gentle body warm-ups, because sometimes I wouldn't go on at all for like 3 weeks. I would just be backstage. So it's kind of like being prepared that anything could happen, because a cast member, I remember she had an ovarian cyst that ruptured in the middle of the performance. And I literally was in my dressing room, and then suddenly I was on stage the next 2 minutes. So it was kind of like preparing mentally, I guess, and physically for that jump, and, being warm and then in my body. So I think being a swing was a little bit different in that sense. So, and also like vocal exercises. I have like a 10-minute vocal warm up on my phone that I like to do before a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Firstly, thank you for the introduction into what a swing is. One of the most challenging roles in theater. And like you mentioned, I guess it's not just difficult because you have to memorize so many lines, positions, and movements, but also you have to make that quick mental switch. At any given point, you might be playing multiple characters in the same show. Do you think starting off as a swing, many people who try to get into theater often start as swings or as understudies, but there are a few lucky ones who often get the big role on their debut. But do you think starting off as a swing gives you a unique set of skills that really benefit you once you get that leading role in the future compared to those people who just get a big role from the start?
I don't think so personally, because I see being a swing as just having a different skill set.
Okay.
Because being a swing, like we call it swing brain, is kind of like you have to have a very mathematical brain and being able to compartmentalize things. And some people just have it and some people just don't. And it doesn't mean that you're a better actor or more talented or nothing. It's just a very different skill set. It's like if someone was a consultant and a marketing expert, very different things. But I will say that I learned so much from being a swing because I never even knew that I had this skill set and capability to do that. And I learned a lot about being aware and being present during a show. Because now whenever I go back to theater and I'm rehearsing, I don't only focus on my specific part. I'm so in tune with like, ooh, what are they doing? What's happening around me? You know, like my peripheral vision, let's say, has been opened. Because when I'm just staring at you, like I see all of this around me. And before I was a swing, it would only be like tunnel vision. Yeah. So now I think because of that awareness, I'm able to just be a more present performer in general.
That sounds great. Yeah, I definitely think that's a great tool to have. Just be able to have the whole holistic view of the set and of what everyone's doing as well. It gives you a much better idea of the bigger picture. Let's talk about the scarcity mindset. You have been quite vocal about it in previous interviews about the scarcity mindset that not just prevalent in this industry, but this industry in New York City, I think it's amplified to the highest. Is it hard to deal with, or does it get challenging to deal with rejection, failures, auditions? Have you developed a way to tackle the scarcity mindset in the city?
I think it's always a work in progress. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'm like, woo, I feel on top of the world. I'm awesome.
Crushing.
I'm freaking talented, crushing it. Even if I'm not booking anything, I'm still crushing it. And other days, you just want to curl up in a corner and just like, my life sucks. So dramatic. I'm so dramatic. No, but it's a work in progress because we're not perfect. We're not always going to be like positive and cheerful all the time, because the truth of it is, like, I remember last year or a few years ago, I did 400 self-tapes. I literally counted. I would audition log every one of my self-tapes. And I booked maybe like seven out of 400. And just think about those numbers. And even if you're the most positive person in the world, sometimes it kind of eats at you because you're going to take it personally. And that is the hardest part of being an actor, is not to internalize anything. It's just kind of almost being like having that full faith, the full trust that, something is going to work out, But sometimes you're like, I don't have evidence to build around this case that I have. It's like, what if everything doesn't work out? So doubts definitely creep in, right? But I'm definitely a big advocate for just really knowing where you stand with the world and like why you're doing something. Because when you know why you're doing something, you're more clear on your mission of why are you an artist, right? And you can always go back to that because that should not waver. So when you know that about yourself and when you explore that aspect, then everything else becomes fluff. And you're able to look at it. Okay, this is why I'm doing this. And this is why I'm going to keep continuing doing this, because I believe in that mission I have to change the world through XYZ.
I think that's a great tool to just keep asking you why you got into it in the first place as well. Always good to reinforce what the initial love for it was, and that can help you hopefully set things in perspective. But let's explore that a bit more. You've often said in previous interviews that being an actor is a state of mind, not a reflection of your achievements. Ties in perfectly. But do you think acting would mean as much to you if you just performed for yourself? There was no audience. Let's say you're just performing at home in a room. No one's ever going to see it. Or do you think performing for an audience, sending a message out there, them receiving it, interpreting it, that's integral to the process?
I think the latter for sure.
Okay.
I mean, of course, I would enjoy performing. Like, I love singing in my shower.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to say it doesn't make me feel good to like hear myself sing high notes sometimes. No, but it's not as meaningful to me, right? And I think art is very selfless. Being an artist is selfless. And I think there's always something to be taken from watching a show. There's always something you can take with you as an audience member. And I think it just brings the world together. It's literally for theater, right? You're basically like shut in a theater for 2.5 hours with no distractions. All you have is the stage in front of you and you're immersed in it.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever your experience is, your cathartic experience is your own. So for me, because I really do believe that some of the best theater are the pieces that make commentary about the world and, you know, thought-provoking pieces, things that make you think about like all the injustices, all the crap that is going on in the world, right? And if you're just doing it for yourself, then I just don't think it's as like rewarding and impactful. Oh, sorry, impactful. I hit the mic there. Ooh, I was so like passionate. I hit the mic. Yeah, I just don't think it's as impactful.
Do you think art has a responsibility to always send a message, or can art just exist, or does it always have this, like, because it has the power to be received by so many people, you have to use it in the right fashion?
I don't think there is a right or wrong with art. So if your art is just to exist without any further commentary on anything, that's fine. That's still art. Like, I don't think it has to mean something, right? And I think that's why it's always so interesting going to MoMA in New York City and you see all these like abstract art and sometimes you just don't understand it. So maybe the meaning is that you don't understand it. You know, like that's the lesson I'm going to take from it. You don't always have to understand something. But yeah, I don't think it always has to like really dig deep or be like this elaborate thing about like this cause or this topic to be like, wow, that was amazing. Because I think art on its own can be amazing if it just exists as itself. You know, it was someone's thought process, someone's work, someone's workflow. And I think that's something to be admired. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely something to be admired. Amazing. Let's click out of the actor section. Let's click into the creator section. And thank you for your continued patience with this metaphor. Your social media is this one-stop shop for some great recommendations about New York City. So in that spirit, I have a rapid fire game segment for you. I'm going to list down some, excited. I'm going to list down some categories of places that you can visit in New York. And I would love to hear your top picks and maybe one line explaining why you've picked it. Are you ready?
Sure. I love games, but now I'm nervous.
You should be nervous. This is a game of...
I have to win.
You have to win. And there's a prize waiting for you. Yeah, the Lamborghini.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But what if I'm more of like a Ferrari girl?
Unfortunately, that's how the game works.
Okay,
You'll have to take the Lamborghini.
All right, cool.
Not
We got to settle. I have to settle. Oops.
Settling for the Lamborghini for this game, unfortunately, doesn't meet the expectations. Are we ready?
Sure.
Let's start the clock for 10 points each. 3 cheap eats that you have to visit in New York City.
Amazing. Okay, so I love Chinatown, and that's how I started with my content. I was an accidental creator, influencer, whatever you want to call me. And this was during the pandemic, and I kind of just wanted to give a voice to the community that I love and am a part of and is part of my culture and heritage. So my favorite cheap eats, first of all, in Chinatown, Me Some Cafe. It is kind of this like, it's run by Thai Chinese ladies. And there is this rice dish where it's just so cheap and it's like comes in a little rice box and you can get a lot of different things on it. They have different toppings, but my favorite to get is the sambo fan, which means the 3 combination rice. So there's an egg, a lapchang, Chinese sausage, and salt baked chicken. Love it. It's like what, $5 or $6. So that's my number one pick. Oh, my number 2 would be, I really like sponge cakes. So I grew up with sponge cakes. It's kind of like bakeries are huge in Hong Kong. So there's this spot called Spongy's Cafe. I love just the way sponge cakes taste and it's so fluffy and satisfying to eat. And they have a really good matcha one. I really like the matcha one or the original one. It's like $1. So, and and the original flavor is like 85 cents.
Wow.
If it didn't go up. But yeah, 85 cents. So love that. It's like a cute little like after meal. What should we have as a light dessert, but like can eat 10 of at the same time.
Yeah,
and my last one is probably cheap eats. Oh, it's so hard. I'm probably going to still have to go with Chinatown. And okay, basement of the East East 88 Broadway Mall. Ooh, my brain just kind of like merged. Yeah. It is such a long name, but if you go to 88 East Broadway, you're going to find an abandoned mall that kind of looks like Walking Dead, and it's very questionable, but you just have to trust me on this. You just got to walk in, you have to go downstairs, and then once you go down the stairs, you're just going to make a right, and you're going to see this dumpling spot that sells the best dumplings in New York City. And I know this because I threw a pop-up and I got the frozen dumplings from them, and everyone was like, where are these dumplings from? And I'm like, haha. Yeah, the basement of East Broadway Mall. And you can also get the frozen dumplings for like $10 and it comes in 30. Okay. So those would be my 3.
Those are the 3.
Bam, 30 points.
30 points. Got them on the dot. I must say, if you do end up going to the abandoned Broad Mall, it could either end really badly. It's an abandoned mall, or you could find like the best dumplings of your life. And that's the risk everyone has to take on their own. It's a journey you'll have to take on your own.
Yes.
Second one, 10 points each. We're going to flip it up. 3 luxury dining experiences in New York.
Oh my gosh. Okay. First, Sugil. Oh my gosh. I'm so obsessed. It's a tasting menu. I love food. And I love food because I love culture. So I love like when I get to like try different spots and the culture is reflected through the food, because I think food and culture are very closely intertwined. Yep. Anyway, Sugil is a French Korean dining experience. And there's a tasting menu for like 5 or 6 courses. I can't remember the specifics now. Delicious. They have potato bread. That is literally the best potato bread I've ever had. They also have this like foie gras bibimbap. Delicious. Wow. Like I would say that's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
I really like omakase. So the second one I would probably, I mean, I wouldn't say like, it's like luxury where you're spending like $400, but it's still at a higher price point, especially like I can't spend $90 per meal every time. So I would say there's one pop-up called Taikun Pop-Up, Taikun, and they have a normal omakase branch, but they also have a pop-up where it's kind of like in a speakeasy. And I think it's like $135 per person for like, I can't remember how many courses, but I really like it because I like more simple omakase. Where it's like the fish pieces are a little bit, they're not like stacked with like different ingredients, you know? I kind of just like to taste the fish. And I think for the quality and the freshness and just like, it's so good. Definitely recommend that.
Okay.
And the third one.
Always the toughest, right? The third one.
Luxury dining experiences are sometimes really hard for me just because if I'm spending over an X amount of money, I have the expectation. And a lot of the times it just like lets you down a little bit. That's why I really love cheap eats. It's like, okay, even if it wasn't good, I just spent $5. You know, I'm not spending like $200.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. Ooh, third luxury.
You can skip and get minus 10 points. That's up to you.
No. I think I need a bit of time to work out the problem. It's so funny. I'm like kind of thinking through my Instagram and like what I've recommended before.
You don't have to get full points. The Lamborghini
No.
That's fine.
I want the Lamborghini. So, you know.
Not a Ferrari.
You know, you win some, you lose some. I would say my third one. I'm trying to think of like. Okay, it's not luxury. I would say this is more casual, but I would say this is one of my favorite spots for like, if you want to take someone on a date and it's like not a hole in the wall vibe, but kind of like definitely elevated. I love the Noa table, NUAA table. It is a modern Thai restaurant. The price point is definitely a little bit higher compared to like street Thai food. Delicious. They have this like colossal crab curry noodle that is to die for.
Wow.
And their desserts are honestly very innovative as well. So I would put that as my third option, even though it's not like luxury. It's
We'll
like,
count it.
okay,
Don't
great.
worry.
Great.
Okay.
30
points again. Yeah. The third one was a bit.
It's a bit difficult because when I give recommendations, I want it to be something I love. You know, I'm not going to just throw out a random restaurant. You know, every recommendation I give on my platform, I've been there, you know, and I love it. So I take my recommendations very seriously. Yelp elite.
Clearly 60 out of 60 so far. Okay. Let's add another 10 points to it. Best museum in New York City.
Oh my gosh. Okay. My favorite is the Whitney Museum.
The Whitney Museum.
Whitney Museum, just because I think it's a very intimate experience. And I kind of like, again, going back to like art, commentary, I really like a specific exhibit they have. I don't want to spoil it, but it speaks to a lot of injustices about the world and race. So I think that's why the Whitney Museum is my favorite. And they also have a beautiful rooftop, and a cute little cafe. So I like the vibe. It's very bright and airy, and it's just a nice afternoon to spend.
It's a complete package. I had another one for 10 points, but let's see if we don't want to do, there's a different answer for this. Most underrated museum. Would that also be the Whitney?
Most underrated museum.
It could be the Whitney. Oh,
no,
sorry,
the Noguchi Museum.
The new Gucci Museum. What's that?
It's in Astoria. See?
Yeah, got me.
It's in Astoria. So it's a sculpture by Noguchi, and it's beautiful. Literally hidden gem. You kind of have to walk like 10 minutes from the station. It's very like Zen vibes. It's also very, I don't know, like I went with my parents actually, and it's like, it was so thoughtful and reflective and just so cool to look at like sculpture work. And I loved it so much. It's very minimal as one. Beautiful garden. Literally, like I could spend all day there.
Wow. 10 points and another 2 for surprising me. Okay. What is one place in this city that will always cheer you up?
Oh my goodness. I just got chills. That's actually part of my Instagram series. And
Is it though? I wouldn't know.
I have like a series that's literally called Places in New York City that are gonna cheer you up. Someone pointed out the grammatical error and I had to change it. I love the Amster Yard. It's in Midtown East. It's just like this kind of like secluded little, I call it urban oasis, but it's really like a garden. It's just beautiful there. It's quiet. You don't really hear all the ambulances, the honking, everything. Just a great way to kind of like center yourself. I really love that. Yeah.
Yeah, great way to give it away. Now it's not a secret hideout anymore. Expect 10,000 people there tomorrow. Ruined. People are just going to be like, why did you have to? People just can't let anyone enjoy the place.
I'm not a gatekeeper, sorry.
What's one fun activity that you can do in the city? For 10 points.
Okay. Give me like some more context here. I'm gonna spin it around.
This is not how it works. You don't ask me. But like an adventure.
Okay, but who am I recommending this to? Like, am I recommending it to like a couple that's looking for a date activity? Like, if you can do it solo, and you know what I'm saying?
Let's do solo for this one. Let's say a young professional. I'll give you a whole character. 20 to 30, named Steven. Okay.
Steven.
Who
okay.
likes to do something adventurous and in the city has the money to afford it.
Okay, Steven, you have money. Steven, all right. You know, when you have money, you can do anything in the city. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, if you do have the money to spend, I would really recommend rug tufting.
What's that?
It's where you can make your own rug. You literally have a tufting gun and you're like, it sounds like that. And you're making your own design. So I made Totoro because it's so cute. You can make any design though. You can make a fried egg. You can make like, I don't know, Hello Kitty. Basically, you pay, most of it is like $250 and it's like a rug the size of this table. Yeah. And you can keep it.
Wow.
It is a 3 to 4 hour experience. So like,
sounds great.
Yeah. And I think it's really, really fun. Something a little bit more affordable, bonus points is
think about it.
Color Me Mine. I really like that spot. They have a couple of locations. I think one on the Upper West Side, one in Tribeca, where you kind of pick out your pottery piece and you can paint it. And that is a great solo date idea for
Wow.
Steven. And and if you go Thursdays, I think they do like free admission for the ladies or anyone female identifying.
Steven might miss out.
Miss out on that. But Tuesdays, it's 2-for-1 deal. So like, it's like you pay the ticket fee and then you pay for your item that you choose to paint. And then they kind of like fire it up for you. And then in 2 weeks, you can just take it home. And I made a little whale spoon rest and I painted it. I went alone. So much fun. I spent like $30 in the end.
Wow.
Yeah, really
These
fun.
are some great ideas. And I've barely heard of these. Wow, you're really getting all the bonus points.
I call myself the walking Yelp. Sometimes I'm like, I am the walking Yelp of New York City. You can ask me anything. And recently someone was like, you're a lifestyle expert. I'm like, you know what? I kind of am. I will have an answer for you if you have a question for me regarding New York City.
I'm going to use this opportunity to just ask you all recommendations. If you're going to keep getting it up, I'm going to make a whole Excel sheet out of this. What's the best show you can watch in New York?
Oh my goodness. Okay, Steven, what's your budget?
Well, New York is expensive, so I guess we'll keep it open. Because most average shows, $150, $200 is expected, I guess, yeah. Including Broadway.
But I will say Broadway shows, you can also go on this website called BroadwayForBrokePeople.com.
Yeah.
And it like tells you all the lotteries, the rushes, and rushes when you can kind of like submit it for the day of, and you might get the ticket, you might not. And it's like $30 to $40. Yeah. So
let's keep the budget open. Let's just say the best show that you can watch.
Right now.
Doesn't have to be Broadway, like comedy,
Of
music,
course.
jazz, anything you want.
I'm just trying to think. There's so many right now.
You can pick 3 as well, but I'll split the point.
Split the points. I have a very, very soft spot for MJ, the musical. If we're going to talk Broadway, I think it is, especially if you're a Michael Jackson fan of his music, I think it is definitely a show worth seeing. Absolutely. I recently saw Here Lies Love. And it was a very unique experience. It is about the rise and fall of the former Filipina First Lady, Imelda Marcos. And it is literally, they transformed the whole theater into a nightclub. And there's dance floor seats. Well, they're not even seats. You stand and you literally dance with the cast. It's really interactive, literally. Wow. I sat in the mezzanine, so I had a more traditional experience, but it was still really cool to watch. The stage moves, by the way, so I think it's a really cool experience. Like, it's just something you've never seen in theater before, right? And I don't know if you know who Conrad Ricamora is. He was in How to Get Away with Murder. Okay. Right. He played Ollie, I think. And he literally like made our section stand up and like taught us a dance. So now I can say Conrad Ricamora taught me how to dance. No, but it's a really cool experience. And it's just kind of like interesting, you know, to learn about a part of Filipino history in like a very condensed way, in a very simplified way, of course. So that I recently saw. Something else, I'm trying to think of something a little more avant-garde. Because there's so many like independent almost theater off-Broadway shows, and like they're still all really good. I'm trying to think what was something recently that I Okay. This is a little bit different. Like, so yesterday I went to Accomplice the Show, and it's basically an interactive show where you walk around like a 1 mile radius trying to solve a mystery. Ooh. So someone was kidnapped. The story, someone was kidnapped. Yeah. And we have to find out from clue to clue to clue. And you work with strangers. Literally yesterday we had a group of 8 and we all worked together. And then it's a 2-hour experience / show. The actors are improvising. You trying to figure out what happened to this person and solve the crime. So I think that's kind of like a really
very cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like an escape room / show / experience. Wow.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. You're giving some amazing recommendations. You're really expanding my Excel sheet, and it always overwhelms me with New York because there's so much to do. So many restaurants to visit, so many shows to watch. It's getting too much. And now I'm just realizing I barely know even any of these. Okay. You have covered these, so I'll give you the points. But if you want to add something to the next one idea for a date.
one idea for a date.
Doesn't have to be food, doesn't have to be a show, it could be anything.
Let's do a free date idea.
Okay.
Walk the High Line.
Yeah.
Walk the High Line. I think it's such a gorgeous way to kind of just like walk from, I don't know, it's like 20-ish blocks, 25 maybe. I think that's a really beautiful date idea, especially on like a really nice day. And yeah, I think that's a really cute one. Something else, maybe. Oh, now I'm trying to go back to like what I've recommended before. I'm like, Okay, I've never actually been here, but it's kind of been on my bucket list. But there's this like, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like this, you mold a sculpture, but you're blindfolded.
Ooh, wow.
And I literally cannot even remember the name right now. I think it begins with an A, but I always thought that was a kind of cool date idea. But I've never been to there, so I can't like fully endorse it. It's just kind of piqued my interest.
Sounds cool though. Yeah.
So Far Sounds is a great date idea.
Yeah.
It is a spontaneous musical experience. And when I say music, I mean like music, not like a theater experience. There are 3 artists that perform. They're all independent artists. And they perform their original songs. And you don't find out where the concert is or who's performing until 36 hours before. And for that, it's like $20 to $26 for a ticket. So, and sometimes it's BYOB as well. So I think it's a really cool way to, you know, listen to music, and it's also very intimate too. So
that's a great recommendation. Final one, probably the most controversial, which is the best neighborhood in New York City.
Queens.
Ooh, didn't blink. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Queens, vibrant with culture. Food is amazing. People are incredible. A lot of small family-owned businesses. I love Manhattan. Don't get me wrong. I lived in Manhattan for like the first 6 years out of my 7 years in my New York City life, right? And I think that a lot of experiences are in Manhattan, but if you're looking for something different, definitely venture out into Queens. Like go to Woodside, go to Jackson Heights, go to Flushing. You're going to find the best food you've ever had out there. And I think New York City, as you know, is not just Manhattan. So I think there's so much New York City offers that's outside the scope of Manhattan that I think is worth venturing into.
All right. Visit Queens.
Yes.
Excellent performance, Viveca. 9 out of 9. Traditionally, this is where the game ends, but I'm going to add a bonus round for you.
Great.
You have the opportunity to double your points.
Amazing. Do I get 2 Lamborghinis? Like the negotiations about to start.
We'll work it out. We'll do the bargaining after your performance. Okay. What if you get minus points on all of these?
No, never. I'm pretty confident.
Maybe a Lamborghini and a Ferrari. Who knows? Okay. I'm going to ask you the exact same questions again, but this time it's not New York. It's Hong Kong.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Okay. Maybe I will lose out on the Lamborghini. No,
it's for bonus points. You've already won the game. For 10 points each again, 3 cheap eats that you have to try in Hong Kong.
Okay. So I would say there are just a lot of like Hong Kong food scene is completely different to New York City. So I would say a lot of what I call cha chan tang is like Hong Kong diners. They're all like, they're not like super, super cheap, but they're just like so affordable. So I would say like a meal would probably be like maybe like $8 with a drink maybe. So my favorite is probably, oh my gosh, I don't even know the English name for it. It's called Bun Do Bing Set. So if you know Chinese, good for you. You can go there. If you don't, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but they have this like cool guy set and hot girl set. It's like what they list it as. Yeah. It is so funny. That's literally like Ying Lam Tan, cool girl Tan. No, but basically it's just like a Hong Kong diner. You can have a lot of different combos and like the breakfast is so cheap. Another cheapie in Hong Kong is like, we do a lot of street food. So there's like, you can get curry fish balls like from like stalls and stuff, and so good. Squid, anything like on a stick, like skewers basically. And you can find that I haven't been home in like 5 years. So I'm like, what if they close down? But I used to go to this place in Causeway Bay. So it's opposite Hong Kong's Times Square, which is in Causeway Bay. And the third one probably, Okay, there's this like, there are a lot of like in Mongkok, in the specific neighborhood of Mongkok, there's just a lot of like good cheap eats, I would say. So like explore that neighborhood. Yeah.
Bonus points for you. Luxury dining experience, 1 or 3. How many of bonus points you need
Okay.
in Hong Kong?
Okay. So I grew up in Hong Kong for the first 18 years of my life. And ever since I came to college, it's kind of been like very sporadic that I've visited. I will say when I was growing up, I never actually got the opportunity to have luxury dining experiences because my parents were not like, I wouldn't say we weren't like always struggling, but we definitely were very frugal with our money just because they knew that they wanted to send me abroad. They knew that they always wanted to put money into training me as an artist, like putting it into piano lessons, singing, dancing lessons. So none of that money could go to these luxury dining experiences. But I will say that there was always one restaurant that I wanted to go to, and it's called Amigo. It is in Happy Valley. And I think that it has like a son, and I think it's French cuisine. So I don't know if it's good, but it's always something I wanted to try. And the next time I go to Hong Kong, because now I'm in a better place, I can actually take my parents there.
Wow, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that moment.
Yeah.
But I never got to experience that side, really.
Yeah, I can resonate. I grew up in Dubai and same idea. We never used to go to any of the luxury dining experience. So people ask me about like, have you been to these restaurants? I have no idea. Cheap eats is what I know. As well. Nobody goes to the to have the cheap eats. They always go to the luxury ones. Okay. Bonus points for that as well. What is the best or the most underrated museum in Hong Kong? Combine the two. Or like a historical spot, like a landmark.
Cultural center. I don't think it's underrated, but I think it's definitely like the architecture is so beautiful. Yeah. And I'm like, museums? Are there even any museums in Hong Kong? I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Like a monument, whichever one is your favorite. I
think I will definitely have to say the cultural center is in Tsim Sha Tsui. I always have to be like, is definitely a must see. And I think it's just, it's a theatrical venue almost, where like a lot of orchestras, performers, singers, shows perform. And it's right by the harbor. So the harbor is really beautiful and you should take the ferry there. That is like the spot I would suggest.
Sounds like a great experience.
Yeah.
One place in Hong Kong that will always cheer you up.
Home.
50 points.
50 points. Yeah, home. I think like when I was growing up, I definitely didn't have this curiosity that I have now that I've kind of developed throughout my adult years. And when I was in Hong Kong, it was really about like fulfilling that Broadway dream. You know, every Saturday I would be in training, you know, so I would definitely say that like just home and like maybe the mall, maybe if I had to choose. I love Sogo. It's a huge mall in Causeway Bay. Those are the spots that would cheer me up. Like my experience in Hong Kong was like shaping to be the person I am like right now, you know, and I didn't adventure as much. Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, I can resonate because the city you grow up in is not, you don't often view it as a tourist, and like all these places that are out there. Sometimes people come to your city and you're like, I've never been there and I've been here for so many years. Yeah. So it's the same idea. But yeah, New York, I started treating like, have to experience every single thing. Completely can resonate. What's one fun activity that you can do in Hong Kong? For Steven.
For Steven.
Steven's back.
Steven's back. Steven, you're asking for a lot of favors. I'm just kidding. What's one fun thing you can do in Hong Kong? Well, Hong Kong is honestly like shopping central.
Yeah, that is an adventure.
I think that if you like shopping, you're going to have a lot of fun in the malls there. I really like to go to Tai Kushing, Justco. I like going to Justco because it is not only a mall, but it is also a department store. And department stores are very fun to me. They have stationery. They have, you know, you can literally buy everything. They also have a lot of food samples that you can try. So
complete experience. Best show that you can watch. Could be anything.
Okay, so fun fact about Hong Kong, there are not a lot of shows that are long running. It's not like Broadway. And I think that's kind of what drew me to New York City, is because like being an actor can be your job as well. And in Hong Kong, like it can be your job, but you need something else to supplement it. I mean, maybe things have changed since I've come here, but that's always like, to my understanding, is like a lot of shows is like a 3-week, 4-week engagement. So everything is constantly always changing. But I will say that I will recommend a theatrical group. It's called the Actors Family, Viveca Chow, and they put on one of my favorite musicals of all time. Is called Bin Sing. Don't even know what it is in English, but it's not playing anymore. But I'm just like gonna talk about it because I love it so much. But basically, it's about this girl and her relationship with her grandpa. Like the girl lost both her parents at a very young age, so it's like the grandpa raising her, and they're not rich. They're in a really small town, and they're like kind of in charge of not smuggling, but like transporting people across the river. And it's about like coming of age story. And in the end, it's very sad because, you know, yeah. But I will say, because of that show, I've always loved watching shows put on by the Actors Family. And I hope that the show comes back one day because I would love to play the girl. But yeah, I think they're a really solid company that puts on really cool original shows that, yeah, is a fun time. And, you know.
Sounds beautiful. One idea for a date in Hong Kong.
I would say idea for a date. Oh, this one is tripping me up a little bit, not gonna lie.
Tough question.
A tough question.
Yeah. You can skip the bonus.
No. One idea for a date. Hong Kong has changed so much since I've been back. And I know that there are a lot of new establishments that have like, you know, been built. Grammar.
Broady broad.
Broady broad. This is me though. Like this sidetrack, not trying to distract anyone, but
I've noticed.
No, but like when I'm filming the videos where I'm talking about the free things in New York City with my tiny mic, like I constantly have these like flubs because my brain just goes so fast and my mouth can't keep up. Okay, date idea in Hong Kong. So many restaurants. I think like when you go on dates, it would be such a missed opportunity if you didn't use that as an opportunity to like explore the food scene. So instead of giving you a specific thing, I would recommend going on Open Rice, which is kind of like New York's, well, Yelp, I guess. But Open Rice is like an amazing resource. So I would suggest that. Can I do that?
You can do whatever you like. It's just you're losing the Ferrari, but that's fine. Yeah,
life is not always about the Ferrari.
Is it not? I was taught differently. Okay. Best neighborhood, street, region in Hong Kong. General vibe.
I love Happy Valley. I think it's where I grew up, and it's by the race course. So it's always very nice. And you can take the tram in. It's kind of like more of like a, not secluded, but like not as accessible spot in Hong Kong unless you have a car. I didn't have a car, so we would always have to like take the tram, take the bus. So I love Happy Valley. I think it's a really like quaint spot. And I also think that there is this market, like a food market, where there's one floor where there are just all these like little businesses, like 4 or 5 of them, where it's kind of like a very traditional Hong Kong style dining, where it's like the Hong Kong diner style, but it's in the market, in the food market. So yeah, I love that spot. Add it to your cheap eats, even though it's not that cheap, but like still affordable.
Okay, I'll add it. And extra points for you. Excellent performance in the bonus round. I gave you the opportunity to double your points and you did it. What a performance. We're not sure about the Lamborghini, but maybe you can expect a medal in your mail. So keep an eye out.
Amazing.
Before we wrap up this segment, I have to ask you about both these cities. We covered so many different spots that you can visit. You've had the privilege of growing up in Hong Kong, such a culturally vibrant city. And now you have the privilege of living in New York. How do you compare the two cities? If you had to create a list of pros and cons, what would this sound like?
I would say that I love New York because it is so diverse. Like the diversity is just incredible. Mm-hmm. Like, and there's so many different cultures to be experienced. So like I love Hong Kong too, but it's definitely not as diverse as here because like when I'm thinking back of like my food experiences, like I never had Middle Eastern food when I grew up, you know? I always had like a lot of like East Asian and Southeast Asian cuisines. And then I didn't even have a lot of like pizza, you know, not even like a lot of Italian food. So I would say that that is kind of like a big difference as to like why I really appreciate the food scene in New York here. I would say cleanliness, you just have to give it to Hong Kong. Like New York City, like love you, New York, but sometimes it's really nice to not walk down the streets and have to smell urine. Like that's just something I'm like, oh, dang. The subway station in Hong Kong is just amazing. It's so perfectly run. It's so clean. It's so efficient. Trains are never late or delayed. Think of that. Just imagine.
Check your privilege.
Exactly. So really miss that there, you know. But I would say both cities are hustle and bustle. Easy to get lost in it, to be honest. Like the energy could be so like go, go, go that you don't really take time to like rest or have that time to yourself. So both are similar in that sense.
Yeah.
Hong Kong's home, you know, like it's always going to be home. Love the city. Like all my closest friends are there and all my family is still there. So yeah, like I think I have that sentimental like aspect to it. New York, I would say maybe is a slightly more creative city. There's just so many, you know, when you were asking me about fun things to do, like I gave you so many creative ideas, but Hong Kong, like there is rug tufting in Hong Kong because I gifted it to my mom for her birthday.
Look at that.
I was like, let's see if there's any studios. And there are, you know, so it's like, but it's not like, I think one of the things about Hong Kong when I was growing up is like, I always felt like creativity wasn't a priority for a lot of people. And that's okay. You know, everyone's different, but creativity is a priority for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I need to think outside the box to thrive. I need to be able to do things on my own accord, to feel like I'm growing into my own person and nurturing my individuality. So I'm definitely really grateful that I grew up in Hong Kong because it's led me to here. But now I have this like whole like new view and perspective of the world. And with the diversity here, it's really challenged my thoughts and like helped me unlearn so many things that I've, you know, grew up learning. So yeah, both really beautiful cities. And I think Hong Kong is definitely worth a visit. But if you do Hong Kong, you should also do a lot of different countries around Hong Kong as well, because I think it's just fun to travel. Yeah.
That's a great, accurate summary of both cities. That's a very good comparison. It was a tough question. Nailed it again. Before we wrap up this segment, I would love to get your take on what I've built with the Lego and what do you think this masterpiece is that you've built?
Is it like a rocket?
That's exactly what I was building.
I don't know. I'm getting like rocket vibes.
Yeah, it looks like a rocket vibes is indeed.
Rocket vibes, but like a little bit quirky because asymmetrical.
Yeah.
So
disappointing. A dysfunctional rocket.
But great job.
Yeah. What do you think this masterpiece is?
It's reminding me that I can't live inside a box.
Ooh, look at
that.
Look at that.
I always have to, you know.
Sending a message through your art once again.
Exactly. Because, you know, I look at this and I'm like, like I want to do more, you know? So it's like reminding me, I don't want that.
Perfect. What a powerful message. That goes to show you that simple objects can also send the most powerful message. Excellent performance once again with the Lego. We'll add a gift card to Bed Bath & Beyond to your medal.
Not Hudson Yards.
If you want it, along with the Ferrari, along with the Lamborghini. Let's move into final questions. What are some books, movies, role models, TV shows that have strongly influenced you in your life?
Oh my gosh. Growing up, I love The Sound of Music. And I love The Phantom of the Opera. So those are definitely two shows that have made me want to become an actor. There are also like a lot of like local shows in Hong Kong back at the time, like kids shows. There was one that was called Mo Po Lan Lan Mkin Jo, which means pretty witch, you're gone. or you're lost. If I had to like do a direct translation.
Oh, wow, aggressive.
And it was like, I think it was an interactive experience. Once again, was like we were trying to find the witch or something. I can't really remember. Books. I'm sorry, I'm not a huge reader. I struggle with reading because like, I don't know, I just have such a hard time reading sometimes. So no books there.
Movies, role models.
Movies. Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a huge, I don't know, like even though it's not even though, but like it's an animation, I think the impact it had on me was so big that, you know, whatever, like it doesn't always have to be like, I watch this and now I want to be an actor. It's almost like I watch this and now I want to be a better person, you know? And I think that I draw inspiration from kindness around me, people around me, the stories around me, you know, like people's dreams. Sometimes like watching people's dreams like inspire me, you know, and I'm like, wow, like that's so powerful. And it's like, who, you know, aside from like me being a performer or whatever, like who do I want to be in this world? Like what kind of person, like what influence do I want to leave this world with, right? Like what do I want to do? Like what is really like the meaning of what I do? You know, like it's not always about like, yeah, like I love Meryl Streep, don't get me wrong. I love Sandra Oh, like those are huge acting influences. But like bigger than that, like who do I want to be? You know? Yeah.
Hold that thought.
Holding.
I'm gonna come back to it.
Oh gosh, holding.
Who do you think is the greatest actor of all time and
Oh,
why?
I don't like that question. I don't like that question because it's so hard to just pick one. I think every actor has such a unique approach, and like the way they approach a character is so inspiring. Like I really find like moments during a show where I'm like, wow, that was a brilliant pocket of moments. So episode 3 in The Last of Us,
Mhm.
I don't even remember what the couple name is, but it's when Ellie, it's not when Ellie, I mean, I'm like even forgetting the characters, but it's like the couple that has the house and they're like going through this apocalyptic thing and it's about their relationship. Like that was brilliant acting. Game of Thrones, I recently watched it. There was this moment, sorry to spoil, but if you haven't watched Game of Thrones now, maybe you probably never will.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. At the very end, Gwendolyn Christie, who plays Brienne of Tarth, is writing in this book that Jaime Lannister has like, is a part of it. And it's about like knights, I think. It's like a book of knights. And she's writing his biography, I guess. She didn't even speak in the scene. She just looked, she wrote, she thought about it a little bit. Brilliant. It was so good. It was so freaking good. Like, I was like, wow, that moment was like so truthful, so raw, so honest. I really loved Meryl Streep in Big Little Lies. I think this was the first time I saw her in a TV show. I think it's the first TV show she actually ever did because she's only done movies, right? Everything that Meryl does, like, there's always intention, you know, and everything motivates the next thing that she does. And I think that like, she's just so truthful. Everything she does, I believe her. But yeah, those are like certain moments that I remember. So I can't pick the best actor of all time because I don't think that like you can compare acting. Like I can think actor A is amazing and you can think actor A is not good at all, you know? So it's like, as long as you find something to take away from their acting, like whatever it is, like they're the best actor in my eyes. Yeah.
Sounds great. And some great recommendations. Okay. I asked you to hold on to a thought.
I forgot it.
I'll remind you.
Okay, great.
You often, I'm there for you. I got you. You often said in the past, human first, actor second.
Yes.
And you were just talking about stepping beyond the roles and the performances, but what do you want to be at the core, right? Who do you want to be? In that spirit, what would you like your legacy to be?
I think I just want to be the person who is remembered as someone who always utilized her skills, platforms, whatever, to bring a little bit more joy into this world, a little bit more positivity. You know, I want to make people laugh. I want people to remember, like, oh my gosh, yeah, she was so happy about life, like navigating through life. Like it was all about adventure and creativity and uplifting others and telling stories of other people and other characters, you know, and in turn, I hope that they can be a bit more inspired to lead with adventure and curiosity and positivity and just be a little bit kinder to everyone around them. Yeah.
And you're definitely doing that. In all the interviews I've watched of you and meeting you in person as well. It's
Thank you.
Wave of positivity that you bring with you. So I think you're definitely leaving a good legacy. Final question. What do you think is the meaning of life? Viveca Chow.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I literally am someone who gets into like the rabbit holes of existential crises all the time. I have a little fun thing that I do on my Instagram stories. It's called Game Poll of the Day. I don't do it every day, but whenever I have deep questions, I just ask and I give answers in a poll and people pick, and it's always so fun.
Yep.
And I love thought-provoking questions, and this one is the biggest one of them all. The meaning of life for me is whatever meaning you want to give it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, that's true to an extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the meaning of life is, there is no one overarching meaning of life, in my opinion. I think you find the meaning of life in little moments that inspire you. So there have been so many instances in my life where I meet someone, right? And you just like hit it off, or you suddenly meet a stranger, you have a conversation on the train, and those are there's like special moments. And I think the meaning of life is just like going back to the simple roots and the simplicity of it all is just like the simple acts of every day and like the people you meet and the stories you're told and just like little moments of inspiration and like positivity or whatever, like connection. Yeah. Like moments of connection with the world and how that impacts you and affects you as a human being and like how you want to move forward based on those experiences. I don't know. Did that even make sense?
It did. Yeah. The meaning of life is in the little moments of beauty, love. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great meaning to have. Viveca, thank you so much. If people want to connect with you online, in person, find out what you're up to, where can they do so?
At Viveca Chow across all platforms, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Easy to remember. Viveca, thank you so much for a great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.